Good evening everybody and welcome to Will on Safety. This evening I thought I'd cover a health and safety checklist for a small office-based business. So whilst the checklist might be a lot lighter than what you'd need for a big construction company or something like that, I think it'd be helpful, especially for businesses that are quite embryonic in their development, just to understand some of the key health and safety considerations that you need to be thinking about if you're a small office-based business. So one of the main points of confusion for small businesses is the extent at which you need to adopt health and safety practices. It's easy to view the need for constant EHS monitoring and compliance control as only needed in large construction firms and major oil companies, that kind of thing. However, the law lays down the responsibility of every employer to work towards creating an environment that's both health and safe for people to work in. So we're just going to cover off some of the key steps that you need to be thinking about as a small office-based business with 5 or more employees. So the first thing you need to be thinking about and get underway is to create a proper health and safety policy for your workplace. So the first step, and one that often causes the most apprehension amongst employers, is the need for a proper health and safety policy. This is a requirement if you do have 5 or more employees. You need to have a health and safety policy that communicates your views as a company and your legal duties to your workers. Make sure you outline health and safety roles and who is responsible when it comes to health and safety management. Okay, so we need to create that health and safety policy, and then from that, produce health and safety policy statement, and we'll whack that on your health and safety notice board. So next up then, we need to assign someone for the role of managing health and safety. Ideally, it needs to be a competent person. So when you've developed a suitable health and safety policy, it's time to appoint someone to monitor and ensure it's being adhered to. If you're a smaller business without a safety-specific role, so if you're a very small business, you can look at your employees and maybe, identify one of those employees that might be suited to monitoring health and safety. The role of health and safety management often works well with more operational roles, but it is important that you give that employee some training to enable them to fulfill that role. Maybe, stick them on a IOSH Managing Safety course, maybe stick them on an EBOSH General Certificate, something like that. So next up, we need to have a look at what we do as a business and then produce risk assessments for all the sort of key processes and things we've got on site. So we need to produce risk assessments for the necessary risks to workers and customers. So when you've got a policy and someone to enforce it, you need to think about potential risk assessments that can be done to take stock in the workplace. For offices, it often involves looking at routine operations and the hazards that could be present. It could be long-term damage of desk work. Even the stairs might present, slip, trip, fall hazards. Look at office ergonomics, for example, and that can give you insight into how your workers may be exposing themselves to risk. So we need to have a look at what we do as a business and identify those hazard areas and then produce risk assessments for them. So next thing we need to think about then is communicate with workers the protective action for the relevant risks, so the control measures. So after conducting the relevant risk assessments, you need to take preventive measures and communicate the risks to your workers. Best thing to do is once you've undertaken those risk assessments, maybe just get the workers to read through those risk assessments, sign to say they've read them, and they're effectively signing to say they are going to adhere to those control measures. Okay. If workers are made aware of the risk of, say, lifting heavy deliveries incorrectly, it'll increase the likelihood of them adopting the correct techniques, which, of course, in turn is going to reduce your accidents. So next up then, we need to display the health and safety, what you need to know poster. So generating awareness can be a great way to make workers more mindful of the dangers to their self and their co-workers' health. The health and safety, what you need to know poster is a good way to do that. Yep, so get one of those, put it up on your health and safety board. All right. In addition to being a legal requirement when it comes to health and safety management, it also gives you, as the employer, the opportunity to reinforce good safety habits and behaviours in your workers. It's only a good thing, right? Next up then, we need to make sure we report Riddle reportable incidents. So whilst you might hope to never have to fill in a Riddle report, knowing the basics of the legislation is important when it comes to making sure your business is health and safety compliant. Riddle reports are made when the qualifying incidents have occurred within the workplace. Usually the employer is required to fill out the report or the responsible person of the workforce. So when it comes to riddles, okay, for injuries, fatalities, dangerous occurrences, they need to be reported without delay, must be reported within 10 days of them happening. All right, you need to report accidents that result in the I can't get my words out today, incapacitation of workers for over 7 days. That's got to be reported within 15 days of the incident. So if somebody has an accident at work, they're off work for 7 days or more, yeah, it's a Riddle report, has to be reported within those 15 days. And you also need to report occupational diseases, okay? So a report of the diagnosis should be sent without delay. All right, so we need to make sure those qualifying, those qualifying markers in terms of Riddle, we're adhering to those, Riddle reporting tasks. And then finally, we need to monitor and improve procedures over time, okay? Safety is a pretty fluid thing, so we should be continually improving and looking to continually improve. So don't make the mistake of thinking once the health and safety procedures have been created, you can just ignore it. You should always be looking at your workplace from a safety perspective. So remember, safety should be at the forefront of your business and it should be top down. So lead by example, don't be the example. All right. You should always be looking at your workplace from that safety perspective and thinking about how you can improve your practices that you've currently got in place and uptake a safety mindset within your company. So that's it on the 7 basic steps for small businesses. So we're talking small office-based businesses with 5 or more employees. Okay, hopefully you found that health and safety checklist for small businesses useful. If you have, just leave me a note in the comments. I always reply to those notes. If you want any information, you want to ask me any questions, please just drop me a message. I'll always reply to 100% of the messages. I hope you found that useful. If you have or just about to start a small business, just bear those 7 things in mind. Make sure you've got those boxed off, and then you should be pretty safe going forward, okay? Remember though, continual improvement. You should always be looking at how you can improve the company, how you can improve, those control measures that you've got as a business. So with that, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Do it now. Join the Will on Safety community. Help me grow my community. I post at least 2 uploads a week. Everything from things like this to toolbox talks to common health and safety misconceptions. I post everything safety. So if you want just some free information, okay, get subscribing to Will on Safety. But for now, folks, remember, stay safe by choice and not by chance. I'll see you next time. Take care for now.